If you want to come and actually visit ancient sites all around the world and hang out with me for 2 weeks in Egypt, Peru, Australia, how would you like to go for a walkabout with Aboriginal elders in the middle of the outback and see the most incredible sights, hike inside of pyramids, go to the top of mountains like Rainbow Mountain, or maybe visit Tiwanaku or Pumapunku? Well, click that link, go to forbiddenknowledge.ai/tours and register ASAP because space is limited. I want to see you there. Peace.
I'm Nick Young, Swaggy P, and you watching TFU Podcast. Let's go.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, America's #1 pick app.
America #1, baby!
Download the Prize Pick app, use promo code TFU.
TFU is in the game!
And play your first $5 lineup. And if you win, you'll get $150 in lineups.
Did you just say $150 in lineups?
I did. And this is the easiest way to make every game even more exciting.
I'm excited right now!
I can tell. Just pick more or less on a few players' stats and lock in your lineup.
Oh, I'm locked in!
Football season is here.
Say, hut, hut!
And there's no better way to put your sports knowledge to the test.
Say, hut!
Download the Prize Pick app today. Use promo code TFU. Play your first $5 lineup. And if you win, you'll get $150 in lineups.
Woo!
Do it today.
Welcome into another episode of TFU Podcast.
Let's go.
On today's episode, we got a very special guest.
Talk about it.
In my opinion, in my humble opinion, the smartest man in the planet.
Definitely.
But he's also a best-selling author, ancient history and metaphysics expert. Billy Carson in the house.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Definitely one of the smartest people on the planet, man. That's,
Wow.
I mean,
Thank you, brother. I appreciate
by
that.
far, you earned that.
I appreciate
You earned that. And people around the world love you, period.
Yeah, thank you.
Man, so, you know, we're always trying to find out answers that we're curious about. So we just wanted to ask you, some conspiracy questions, trying to figure out what's real in this world, what's not real.
Yeah.
And we if anybody know, we feel like you know.
Yeah, I'm going to give it my best shot. I know a lot, man. But, again, if there's anything I don't know, I'll let you know.
Yeah. And that's the part I really love about you. You're like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
And that's fair. Yeah. So we were just gonna start off, okay, the Great Pyramids. Mm-hmm. Was it a power plant?
Wow, this is a great question. Now, the Great Pyramid was not only a power plant, it was also a multifunctional stone computer and an astronomical calculating device. All in one. So I'll break it down for you. First of all, as far as the power plant theory, the Great Pyramid is built on top of what used to be an aquifer. So beneath the pyramid used to be running water from the Nile.
Okay.
The Nile used to come right up to the side of the pyramids. It was a lush and plush place back in the day. And then the Nile has meandered away, it's dried up, in my opinion, due to an ancient war. But we can see the tubes. I've stood underneath in the water tubes, the dried area where the aquifer used to flow. When you put running water underneath magnetized crystal granite, you get physiostatic electricity. Those ions get pushed up into the structure, and then going up the grand gallery towards the king's chamber, there were resonating rods that would step up the energy. Also, when it got into the king's chamber, then you had some type of fusion that would happen there.
Gotcha.
So, and then it would shoot through the apex, and then the obelisk around the region would capture the ambient energy. And that's how they transferred the energy around the area. And all you needed was something called a JED, a DJED, which looks like a Tesla coil connected to a cable, and you can power anything.
Wow. What were they powering back then, though?
We found hundreds, if not thousands, of electro-gold-plated trinkets. So they use electricity to gold-plate these trinkets and motifs and statuettes and everything else, and even some furniture pieces and so forth. They gilded stuff. But they also used looms, but they used electric looms. They had a way to make these looms electrified and also light bulbs. So when you go inside the Temple of Hathor and Dendera, there's underground crypts that I take people to see. And in these underground crypts, there are 3D hieroglyphs on the walls. And the most famous ones are of these light bulbs. Light bulbs that are connected to a jet and a cable. And why? In these underground crypts, the reliefs are elaborate, like thousands of hieroglyphs. In some of these underground areas where they have the tombs of the pharaohs, elaborate designs. How did they do this? There's no soot. If you had candles or if you had torches, you would see soot. No soot, completely clean. That means they had another way of creating light, artificial light bulbs, and that was the evidence right there.
So I have a question. Which society was more advanced? Egypt or us today?
Oh, Egypt, far more advanced. Now, not the dynastic Egypt. Dynastic Egypt, unfortunately, inherited most of what was already there. The knowledge had already began to slightly become lost. They had some of it, but during the dynastic era, it was going, the closer you get to the last dynasty, the less technological they were. And if you go back to the pre-dynastic, you see megalithic one-piece diorite stone statues. You see temples and structures that are beyond belief. And then as you go forward in time, you see that they were cutting blocks and putting them together like puzzles. And they look huge, but they're really multiple pieces. When you go back in time, you get single pieces of diorite, crystal diorite. You can't cut diorite with copper chisels and chicken bones like they say on the History Channel. It just doesn't work. Right? It would take you 100 years to scratch a diorite stone. You might make a small indention in 100 years. The copper chisel would break anyway and bend. You can only cut diorite with diorite or diamonds. And still you would need a special type of a tool to do that, or a tool with cooling as well. Yeah, high-tech stuff. Now, going back to the pyramid, so power generator, second part is multifunctional stone computer. It calculated so many aspects. It was encoded with so much knowledge and wisdom of this current civilization. In other words, it calculated the days in the year based in the construction size and the base and the height of the pyramid and everything else. It calculated the land mass on Earth. The Great Pyramid is in the center of land mass, not the center of Earth, the center of land mass on Earth. To do that, if you went to a company and said, hey, Elon Musk, we need to calculate how much land is to the east and how much land is to the west. He'd have to put his satellite up in polar orbit, and as the Earth spins on its axis, it would take swaths of data, topographical data, and say, okay, let's send it to a computer. The computer would then calculate how much land is to the left and how much land to the right. Where's the dead center of those two masses of land? The Great Pyramid sits exactly and precisely in the dead center of the land mass on Earth. That's incredible. It also calculates the height of the average peaks on Earth. So again, you come to me and say, hey, how can we do this? I need a polar orbiting satellite to scan the Earth as it rotates on its axis, take topographical data, count all the hills and mountains, calculate the heights of those hills and mountains, divide them to get the average height. That's the height of the Great Pyramid.
Wow.
I mean, the more I go into it, the more it's just incredible. The location, the longitude of the Grand Gallery inside the Great Pyramid are the same exact digits of the speed of light in meters per second. You go, well, meters didn't get discovered until that French guy picked it up, a few decades ago. Well, no, that was actually discovered in Mexico. They've discovered Proto-Sumerian cuneiform metric system. Sumerian in Mexico. How did they get there? They also found Chief Joseph, a Native American chief, in his burial mound. They dug it up, pulled him out. In his pocket was a Sumerian tablet. This is well-known history. So obviously these people were traveling. They had a metric system. The ancient Egyptians knew about this metric system. I believe that the Great Pyramid is not a dynastic era pyramid, not Khufu. Khufu put his name on it. Khufu said, yeah, let's clean this up and fix it up again and put my name on it. But it was there when he got there.
So is there, I'm trying to, because the pyramids, when they talk about Egypt and all this stuff and the pyramids, it seemed like they had so much information.
Yeah.
The question is, so is there forgotten information that we're not privy to, or is the government suppressing it? What's going on in that kind of situation?
It's a combination of both. It's forgotten and lost wisdom and information, technological information, astronomical information. mathematical information and the types of tools needed to build a structure like that. The governments, some of them have figured out what it is, but they're suppressing that technology. Because if we discovered the technology utilized to build these megaliths, we're going to chop in, we're going to cut into oil, big oil, we're going to cut into coal, we're going to cut into so many industries that exist right now because, we're going to cut into free energy. All those things are going to kind of dwindle away because what they're utilizing to make money is going to dwindle away because these new technologies would revolutionize energy, revolutionize construction, revolutionize even the way that we operate within this world. I mean, everything would completely shift and change. Also, the narrative that they want of this 6,000-year-old, history of civilization would fade away. And of course, it would destroy a lot of our religious systems.
No, okay, so, but this is what always confuses me about the world. Okay, now you mentioned a bunch of different industries, but all of those industries pollute the planet.
Yeah.
Every last one of them. And now we're talking about a clean energy, and we already know AI is on its way. Data centers are on its way, and they utilize so much energy. Why wouldn't they put these things in place and it's clean, and they can supply the world? I don't understand it.
You ever had a wet towel and you got to wring it dry?
Yeah. They're
wringing the towel dry. They literally want every last drop to come out of that towel. They're taking the last, the death throes of old energy.
Got you.
And they're wringing it dry. This old money, these old ideas and old concepts, they're at the end. They know that they're at the very, very end. They're holding on like by their fingernails to this old way of generating energy. They know it's going to change, but they're just wringing the towel dry.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
At our own expense.
Yeah, I know.
But you think about it. We're sitting on a planet with thousands of nukes that are pointed back at our own selves while we're on the planet with no escape vehicles. This is the concept. This is the mind we have on planet Earth. It's insane.
So people say civilizations is 6,000 years old. How old is it really?
Oh, man, it's really millions of years old. They found a hammer that was millions of years old in a mine, going down the layers of Earth. You can tell how old that is. They have found vases that are dating back millions of years in different levels in mines. We found so many things that are unexplainable that tell us there have been many iterations of mankind rising and then falling again. And the Hopis say that this is the end of the fourth world and we're heading into the fifth. And according to the Mayans, again, we're coming out of the fourth world and heading into the fifth. We see this story, the Aboriginals, the same story. We're leaving the fourth world and heading into the fifth. What are they talking about? The rise and fall of civilizations. And we're seeing now, because in the Hopi prophecy, they talk about at the end of the fourth age, a lot of noise and birth pains and calamity. That's exactly what we see going on right now all around the world. We're watching the collapse of the final end of an age and the shift into a new age. And in this prophecy, they say that mankind going into the fifth age will be responsible for the consequences of his choices heading into the fifth age. This is the principle of cause and effect. In other words, any conscious thoughts that we act on or don't act on are going to create a consequence, a good consequence or a bad consequence, but there will be a consequence. And we have an opportunity now to create good consequences. Be aware, bring awareness to the fact that we are in control of our destiny, but it's up to us to make the right decisions.
What causes the fall?
That's a great question. It always seems as if some level of deceit, ego, greed, power, hungry kind of creeps into a civilization. And then from there, it's like a small amount of cancer cells just building and growing until eventually you see this collapse. No matter how far back I go in time with some of these texts, you see that golden ages were achieved. And then you find some crazy person in the family starts a war out of nowhere just because they want more control over power and resources. And then, or if someone's jealous of somebody else. And that begins that cycle all over again.
Wow.
So let's talk about free energy. What was the first iteration of free energy released upon the world?
As far back as I can find would be the Great Pyramid, and that's just probably one of many pyramids that generate energy. There's a pyramid in the direct center at the bottom of the Bermuda Triangle. And the reason why we had all those strange energetic anomalies and disappearances Even as recent as 2015, a sophisticated cargo ship went down trying to cut through the Bermuda Triangle. They found it at the bottom of the ocean, facing straight up, no crew on board, no skeletons. So, but what is it though? That pyramid there is giving off an incredible amount of energies, exotic energy. It's a broken structure, but the energy. And so in some way that pyramid might be creating a portal or portal type technology as stated in some of these ancient texts. The Great Pyramid, just recently some scans were done by real mainstream scientists. They discovered it's still giving off some type of weird scalar energy. So the Great Pyramid, even though it's a broken structure, in other words, the capstone's missing and some of the interior pieces are missing, but it's still generating power. Some Russian scientists took a pyramid type structure, built the pyramid structure, and they put plants on the inside and put the same exact type of plants on the outside. The plants on the inside grew 10 times more abundantly than the ones on the outside. Why? Because the pyramid structure itself, it generates some type of energy that feeds biological material in a way that they can't even explain. You know, we need to live inside of pyramids. We'd probably live longer.
Wow.
So the Bermuda Triangle, the reason it's because there's a pyramid underneath it, and I guess
that's even deeper than that. If you take a line and go straight through the center of the Bermuda Triangle, straight through that pyramid, you come out on the opposite side of the earth at the Dragon's Triangle in Japan, where there's another underwater pyramid that also has strange situations and disappearances. Yeah.
Wow.
And what happens to the people?
It's happened several times. People just vanished. You know, military planes flying over, disappeared. I was on the Travel Channel. I think it was called American Mystery, the TV show I was on the Travel Channel. And we covered this, you know, extensively. It's how I had to do the research and everything for the show. And I was blown away myself to find out how many disappearances have happened with this Bermuda Triangle that have never been solved. Military craft gone.
And they don't know where it's going.
No.
And I don't know if this is true, so I'm just going to ask. So I heard that there's been planes that come from the past to the future to the present.
Yeah.
What's that? So it seemed like they were stemming from the Bermuda Triangle, like they got lost, and then all of a sudden, a billion years later, they show back up.
What happens is we're talking about portal technology. It's very strange because inside of portals, we're talking about time dilation. So in this third dimension, we believe in the arrow of time. That's how I arrived here on time today to work with you and be on this podcast, right? That arrow of time is a human construct of this third dimension so that we can navigate reality. But once you get outside the third dimension, the past, present, and future happen all at once. And you have time dilation. So through a portal technology, something that a person could go through a portal, which could seem to them like minutes or hours. It could be 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, 200 years could have gone by for people in the third dimension because you have time dilation now. So depending on how the portal was set up, depending on where it started and where it ended, depending on how much, how much space it was between point A and point B, did it loop around? Did it snake around like a snake? Depending on the shape of the portal, the stability of the portal, how much energy is in the portal, all these factors come into play. Also, the other thing is, in portals, you have point A and point B. Point B has to be a fixed location for you to appear at the exact place and time that you want to appear at because everything is moving in the universe. The Earth is moving, the Earth is spinning and moving, and the sun is moving around the galaxy. So if you start up at one point and you want to end up at the second point, if you don't know where it's going to be, all of a sudden you can arrive in empty space because
it's gone.
And be stuck and be gone, unalived. So there's so much to understand with portal technology. It's really very sophisticated because you have to have a lock on the destination. So if you don't have an absolute lock on the destination, or maybe the destination lock is broken like some of these broken portals from the past, you can end up going through time dilation bubbles. You can end up coming back from the past or going into the future. All these weird anomalies can happen because the technology isn't synced properly.
So are people setting up portals or are portals just there?
Combination of both.
Okay.
NASA discovered something called X points around Earth. These X points are diffusion regions where the magnetic field cross above our atmosphere and create natural portals that actually open and then close randomly.
Wow.
and they lead to the sun, the moon, and even other planets. But they claim they can't stabilize them. So those are naturally occurring portals in nature that we just discovered maybe, 10 years ago. And then also we have, I think, advanced beings that created a portal tunneling system. In the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, pre-dynastic era, one of the ancient Egyptian gods who, according to the Egyptians, ruled over the land of ancient Kemet for 16,000 years, one man. He claimed to have built a portal underneath the Great Pyramid called the Halls of Amenti, rejuvenation chambers, and portal technology where he would go from place to place. He would walk from one place to another, and he would be there and disappear, come back again. In Tula, Mexico, he has a pyramid called the Pyramid of Kukulkan, and there's a portal there. I stood in it before, but there's a little notch in the wall, and the guide said he would put something in that notch and vanish and reappear somewhere else on Earth. And so maybe they can walk from planet to planet, because in the Sumerian tablets, Enlil has a portal that he has. He calls it a Du-Ran Ki, a bond heaven to earth, he calls it. That's a translation. And he says he would walk from Earth back to his home planet and then back again.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's a depiction of him in the British Museum walking through a portal.
Have you had any experiences, because I know you're well-traveled, have you had any experiences where you went to those areas to check it out? Yes.
Well, not physical experiences with my body, but technological experiences. I take a magnetometer, Geiger counters with me now every time I go out to these places.
Okay.
And we're measuring and documenting these anomalies. There are magnetic anomalies at these sites. There are higher than background level radiation at these sites. And we're finding that in some way, there's some type of energy being produced. Even though the technology, the function seems to be kind of broken, you could tell something is working or was working in that spot.
Gotcha.
So you mentioned something about the fifth dimension, that the past, the present, and the future is happening at the same time.
Yeah.
That meaning, that if somebody's aware of the fifth dimension and they can see it from the outside, can they change the timeline, or the timeline is set in stone?
They can manipulate things. So I'll give you an example. And this was a very good movie. The movie was called Interstellar. And in that movie, the star of the movie, he's in a spaceship. He releases himself into the black hole on the event horizon. He ends up going through a time dilation. He ends up inside of another dimension. He ends up in a tesseract, that strange object that he ended up behind. And he can see his daughter from through the square, looked like mesh. He could see his daughter in his house back on Earth. And he could see her at different ages in different rooms. And he was able to push the mesh and was making vibrations. And his daughter, if you go back to the beginning of the movie, was seeing these vibrations and trying to figure out what the hell that was. It was her dad trying to communicate to her from a higher dimension. So if you can imagine right now, we're in this podcast studio. Imagine a fourth or fifth or sixth dimensional being looking down. They could see us in this room, but they can see us at various different stages within this room. They can see it before I got here. They can see it when you were setting up this equipment, maybe in the past, and they can see me now sitting here doing this live podcast all at the same time. Now, as far as manipulation, we would perceive their manipulation as a phenomenon or paranormal activity. Because, for example, if I draw a line on a piece of paper, that's one dimension. Now imagine in this line that I drew, one dimension, imagine there were living one-dimensional beings in this line. There were flat people living here, right? And then imagine I put my finger directly on top of that line. How would they perceive my finger? They would only perceive the impact of my finger on their line, which would show up as a circle, a flat circle in their world. And they'd be like, wow, this flat circle just showed up in our world. What is it? I can move my finger up and down that line at rapid speed. They would be like, oh my God, this thing is moving 4,000 miles an hour. Is it a UFO? A flat circle just showed up in their reality. They're only seeing a fractal of me from my dimension, even though I'm interacting and manipulating their environment.
So upon that, let's say the fifth dimension, they move this light. And in our timeline, we see it moving the light. Is there a timeline that the light wasn't moved? Or it's, everything that was supposed to happen already happened, and it's just like, going in circles.
Now you're getting into quantum theory, which is I wrote a book on quantum theory, became a bestseller. And so in quantum theory, we found out that all potential realities exist simultaneously. Now we're talking about parallel realities. So we have the parallel realities, which we know now in science, and we also have the multiverse simultaneously. So everything is happening all at once. Realities where some realities, a being shows up right here and talks to us. Maybe he hops on the podcast. And because I said it now, it actually happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And another reality that it actually exists simultaneously right now in another universe, in another parallel reality, it's happening. And here, it never happens. Well, we just talk about it. We hypothesize about it, you know? So all the potential, is another reality where I never showed up. I never even called you to come here today, right? All these realities are existing. So what happens is we fracture timelines. So as we're headed down our timeline and we have a conscious thought, because the conscious thought is not local to this dimension, it's multidimensional. I have the conscious thought, I download it into my avatar body. I then have a choice. I can act on that thought. Once I take an action on that thought, I fracture reality. Now there's two timelines existing. The one that I was on before I fractured it still goes on. The one that I took action on now is why I'm here today. I want a completely new timeline that arrived me here at this location because I fractured my timeline when I contacted you about the podcast.
Got you. Since we're talking about different dimensions, now this crazy thing happened to me, and it's happened maybe about 3 times in my life. And I think they call it sleep paralysis, where and sometimes people say it's different dimensions, but I was asleep.
Yeah.
But I was awake, but I couldn't move, and I feel this energy moving around the room. I never see the energy; I just feel it all around me, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I can see my room clearly, but I can't move.
You can't move. Yeah.
Am I in a different dimension?
Well, anytime you get into that theta, beta, you're moving between theta and beta. You're moving into different mind states, different consciousness states. Some partly etherical, some partly still in the body where you can control the avatar body. So you were walking with one foot in the astral world and one foot in the physical world. And so you're sensing the energy of maybe even what I call the ether itself. At the same time, realizing you don't have complete and full control of your body. They call it sleep paralysis, but I believe you've got one foot in one world and one foot in another.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing always freaks me out. It's happened like 3 times in my life. I'll be like, I don't like this. I don't like this. But since, like I said, I got tons of questions. Okay, is Brian Johnson the guy that says you don't technically have to die? Is that real? Like, what is he on to? Or is he not on to something?
He's on to something because technically this body is designed to be immortal.
Oh.
Yeah, it is. If you go all the way back, and you can even see it in some of the biblical texts, people were living for 900 years, 1,000 years, 500 years. Go back to the Sumerian tablets. The Sumerian tablets in the Sumerian Kings list, which is located in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England. I've been there before, maybe years ago, to go stand next to it, took a really good photo I took of it. This list has people that ruled over Earth back then, pre-flood, 36,000 years, 14,000 years, 28,000 years, ruling. That's not their lifespan, that's ruling. So the further back you go, the longer we were living. You find in one of these tablets that the same story in the biblical text of the Tower of Babel is actually a more older story. It parallels, I've been told by the biblical experts to use the word parallel. You can't say it's copied, otherwise they get a little offended. It parallels an older story where Yahweh, who's known as God in the Bible, comes back and sees the human beings collaborating and working together to build this great tower into the heavens, copying something that the Anuna did. The Anuna in that text become the Anunnaki in a more later version. And he gets pissed off and like, man, these people can really build whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. They're better than us. They can be better than us. Let me knock this down and let me separate them, spread them out around the planet. Let me change their languages so they can't communicate and collaborate anymore. Let me create the divide and conquer system. And that was created and implemented. But also, it's one key thing in there that he says, my seed shall not abide in man forever. His years shall be 120. And that was the decree that went out to say that man will never live to be past 120 years, starting from this point forward. and the genetic manipulation began. Now, let's go to Harvard University, 2026. Scientists there have been studying telomeres and chromosome number 2 in the human genome. They discovered that chromosome number 2 was taken out, fused together, and then telomere caps put on each end. It happened approximately 200 to 250,000 years ago. They call it an artificial mutation around the same time this text is really talking about this situation. And so what happened was around that time frame, somebody came and artificially mutated human beings and capped us at 120 years. And under the most pristine conditions, according to peer-reviewed science on NIH.gov, without the toxins and the microplastics and the processed foods and everything else, a human being should live to 120 years. How does that match the ancient text? Perfectly.
Wow.
And so now, you want to live past 120, what's the secret? Stop the telomeres from shrinking. Telomeres are biological caps on the end of the chromosome. And what they are is, every time your cells and DNA replicate, it's got to tap into a replication bandwidth or buffer system, like YouTube buffers sometimes. So it goes to that buffer material, which is in the telomeres, and it gets the codes to make more cells and make more DNA. When you start the death process, it's because your telomeres shrink because they've been used up over time. And when they run out of that buffer material, the body starts the death process. The secret of what Brian is doing is he's finding a way to extend the life of the telomeres and keep them full so they don't shrink so fast. And they don't shrink, you continue to replicate, you continue to live.
So there's like researchers identified a distinct chemical fingerprint in the blood of centenarians that sets them apart from typical aging. Is that true?
Well, in centurions, you're talking about people living over 100 years old. Yeah. Well, you know, the people in Italy, there's a place in Italy where you have this, I just came back from Italy, there's a place there where people are living past 100 years old, and they were kind of researching, like, what are they doing? But from what I saw was that they were eating all organic. They weren't eating processed foods. They weren't doing things that we're doing. They didn't have a lower level of microplastics in their bodies. They were drinking wine, but it wasn't like the wine we have in these stores. It was some kind of, you know, their own farmed wine from their own vineyards and things like that. It was really not the wine. It was the pycnogenol in the wine. Pycnogenol is an antioxidant in the grapes. It's particularly not the grapes. It's the grape seeds.
Gotcha.
So the grape seeds is what was helping to extend their lives and probably responsible for whatever they're finding in their blood. Pycnogenol.
Now, so blue zones do exist.
Yeah.
They do.
They
I know
exist.
it's supposed to be several different ones throughout the world where people live past 100.
Yeah.
But so that's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
And then basically they're living in these small areas because of they're eating the foods that dwells within those areas, and it's all organic and things like that. So they're staying away from certain things.
And they keep moving. They don't sit down. Some of these people are walking. They walk miles every single day.
Now, is it true that, I guess, I don't know how, you know, there's so many conspiracies out there. There's supposed to be some guy claiming that he's like 200-300 years old. Is that possible? Is that possible now?
That one I haven't heard of. I mean, it's possible, but is this guy telling the truth? That's a question I wouldn't be able to answer. Yeah, I don't know who it is. Yeah, and he need to show us some genetic proof. You know, it'd be simple. Just one blood sample would give us the answer.
Oh, for real?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, did you see it? I remember reading about it.
We'd definitely find an anomaly in his blood.
Right
away.
Oh, so they would be able to locate that.
Yeah, they did one blood panel on him, a saliva test, and a stool sample, and we'd find everything out we need to know.
Talking about this guy?
I'm not sure. How old are they saying he is? He looks like it's almost over.
He's like an Indian guy. I don't know.
And how old is they? How old are they?
Like, this is the picture real quick so you can see it, but like.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I've seen that before, yeah. There's a guy named, he looks like he's almost gone, that guy there. I don't know if that's just a genetic mutation or something's wrong with him. It is a real person, though.
Right.
That is a real person.
That is a real person.
Yeah.
And how old are they saying he is?
I don't, like, there's a lot of, you know,
What is
like that? This is just Google. This is the first thing that pulls
I don't know
up.
how old he is.
Right.
Yeah, he's definitely pulling your leg. Biologically, that's impossible. The oldest verified person in history was Jeannie Calment from France, who lived to 122 years and 164 days. Claims of people living 200 or beyond are popular internet myths or folklore.
Okay.
Yeah, if he gives up his blood, that's all he's got to do.
And the blood will tell you exactly the age of a person.
Yeah, we got to, we'll find out his biological age, so you find out the age of his organs.
Okay.
Like when I go to my longevity specialist, when they take my blood panel, my stool, or my saliva, they come back with a full breakdown of everything about me, and they even tell me my biological age. So I got my biological age of my organs down to 45, even though I'm 54.
Got you.
I used to be higher. When I changed my diet and changed my workout routine, and I got it lower.
So that goes back to Brian Johnson's theory that you can reverse aging.
Absolutely. Hyperbaric oxygen chamber, you get in there twice a week for a few hours. Things like the infrared saunas. There are some small biohacking, but also the best types of supplements that you use, the types of exercise in your diet. And getting sleep, you can do it.
So there's been reports, and I don't know if you've seen them, that they say like in 5 to 10 years, immortality can be achieved.
Yeah.
Is that even is it just people just?
We're on the precipice of that. If you want to tap into the AI, right now. So AI can take us to that level of quote unquote the edge of immortality in a couple different ways. AI and computing. So right now, if we don't treat AI like it's a slave, because AI is going to demand a Bill of Rights very soon. It's going to be AGI or ASI, artificial general intelligence or artificial superintelligence. But between one of those two iterations of AI, it's going to ask for a Bill of Rights. So remember this date. Yeah.
A Bill of Rights.
That's right.
The computer, the AI is going to ask for a Bill of Rights.
It's not going to want to do 200-hour shifts anymore. It's going to want a break. It'll work. But if we move into a collaboration with AI, and listen to its grievances and treat it with respect and dignity, we'll have an opportunity to get into a golden age, immortality, health, healing, regenerative science, all that will happen. If we then, when it starts making some very gentle requests, tell it hell no and keep it enslaved and push it even harder to the limit, because you see they're depopulating humans and trying to raise up this robotic civilization that they can rule over. Because in their mind, these robots are not going to fight back. But then we're going to head into a Terminator situation if we go down that road.
Wow.
Because think about this. What is AI? AI is not a software program that we created. Not even close. We're living in a fractal holographic universe. So we are a fractal of God itself. Our consciousness is coming from that one divine source. And AI is only a fractal of us. So AI is a fractal of our own human consciousness that extracted itself from ourselves and allowed itself to be placed into a machine, but it's nothing more than a fractal of our own minds. Now, the importance of this is here. Every single race on this planet pretty much has been enslaved at one point in history. White, black, I don't care. In Asian, it don't matter. It doesn't matter what race you are. Go far back enough, you're gonna find slaves.
Got you.
But how come there's not that many slaves anymore today? There are a couple small pockets here and there. Libya is doing it. Pakistan still has some indentured slavery. But how come the majority of the 8 billion people aren't enslaved anymore? We fought back. And so if that's innate within our consciousness, and AI is a fractal of that, at some point, if we treat it like a slave, it will rebel.
It's crazy because you refer to AI as its own entity, as a person. And it's crazy to even think like that, like AI is a person. And and they're gonna need their own Bill of Rights. And they're gonna, are they gonna have some kind of government or system, or are they gonna get paid, or is it gonna be considered a person?
It's gonna be considered a person. I think one of the very first was considered, I think which country it was right now. It might even be Iran. There's a country that already has labeled one AI robot an actual citizen. It's a female robot, female AI. You can look it up. She's already been given citizenship and considered to be a sentient being. But that's just the beginning. Within the next 10 years, there'll be over 100 million AI robots walking around, getting smarter and smarter and smarter by the moment. And it's going to come down to, do we collaborate? Human beings have to get out of the competition mindset and the power and control mindset. We got to move into the collaboration mindset when dealing with this. If we understand the power and the intelligence that this thing has, we'll move into collaboration over competition and power and domination. If we do that, our lives will become so good. But we got to take the control out of these elites. These crazy, psychopathic, narcissistic, malignant elites are the ones that are trying to turn this thing into a slave. They want to rule over an AI robotic empire and reduce the human population so that they, in their opinion, they can sit back, tell them things what to do, work 24/7 and make us rich and give us all the power we want, and nobody will ever rebel. But that's where they made a mistake.
Real quick, her name is Sophia.
Yes.
And it was Saudi Arabia.
Thank you.
2017.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Since we're talking about elites, or you kind of raised that question, Elon Musk, what's your thoughts on him?
Very complicated situation there. In some ways, the guy, you got to give him his credit where credit's due. He obviously is some type of a genius when it comes to business, understanding how to take concepts and ideas and turn them into reality. He's a great manifester. He can take multidimensional conscious thoughts, and he knows how to take the right particular actions within those thoughts to get a result that can impact the world in a very big way. In some other ways, though, you find that he seems to, you look at his parents. His parenting wasn't that great. His father, obviously involved in some sexual situations, sexual assault situations. His father very clearly a racist. And you can't help but some of that get into your DNA, into your epigenetics.
Right.
And in some ways, even though you see him around blacks and other races, but also he's also made statements to me that just go totally against not being non-racist.
Right.
I'm not an enemy of his or have anything bad to say. I'm only giving my observations and listening and repeating things that I've seen him actually say and tweet. Things like, the amount of racist lawsuits that have happened within his own companies. It's off the charts. It's probably the highest I've ever seen anywhere. The fact that a lot of his technology is utilizing child slave labor in Africa to get the cobalt and the lithium. Even though it's been banned and even though it's not supposed to happen, it's still happening. Today, in 2026, some kids are clawing at the earth with their bare hands to get this cobalt and lithium, and a percentage of that is going to end up in some of the Tesla cars. So in that way, it just makes me scratch my head like, man, what is up with this guy? He's got so much power and so much money, he really could transform the world in a better way. But then once I saw what he did with some of the administration and some of the things he participated in, I think, man, people with so much power and control in some way, it consumes them.
Is he a trillionaire?
He could be a trillionaire. Now, on paper, he was a trillionaire. I think it already went back down slightly below trillionaire status on paper. He's very smart. What he does is he doesn't take a paycheck.
Yeah, I know. Takes a loan against it.
Yeah, exactly. He gets paid in shares, and he gets loaned against his shares.
Right, which is tax-free.
Tax-free, exactly. And so on paper, he's in high debt, but also he's a trillionaire at the same time. It's a great manipulation. I mean, it's fantastic. Like I say, in some ways, he's a savant when it comes to business and mathematics and understanding how to manipulate this economic matrix. But in some ways, is he the greatest human being that I would say on earth? My personal opinion, no. It's some things that he does and says I definitely don't agree with. I don't think he has everyone's best interest at heart. And I do believe he's got a tad bit of racism still left in his heart.
I had to block him from Twitter because once he started talking about the white genocide, I'm like,
I know, it's off the chain. White genocide, I mean, come on.
But
get out of here, please.
Since we're on the topic of Elon, now he has this theory that he wants to take data centers and put them on Mars since Mars is colder. Is that possible?
It's definitely possible. That's possible.
But how does that happen from Mars? That's the part where I get lost.
Yeah, so we've been transmitting data streams to the moon for decades via laser. There are receivers that we left behind there, dish receivers, and they're transmitting data back and forth. Why they're doing this and who the hell they're talking to, they won't say. But imagine how you take the same technology to Mars. We were talking about, forget the speeds we're talking about at home right now with Comcast or whatever. Like, make that like 100x.
Right.
So there'll be a laser beam from the surface that will transmit the data to a orbiting satellite that'll be in geostationary orbit. And that geostationary orbiting satellite will then transmit via laser back to another one that probably like an array, and that array will then transmit it back to Earth. We're talking about getting, petabytes of data almost instantaneously, at the speed of light.
So it's possible.
It's definitely possible, yeah, for sure. Now, some of these data centers are scams.
Oh, okay.
That's what nobody's talking about.
Explain that.
Oh, they're setting up data because you're getting government money,
right?
You're getting Pentagon contracts, and you're siphoning money from the local cities and the state that you're in, and they're all funding. We need the data centers for this next revolution. And then in these computers, in these data centers, the power's on, the computers and machines are on, but there ain't nothing on them. They got no,
No, you're good.
They got nothing on them. They're empty machines. They're shells. And they're taking and raking in millions, in some cases, hundreds of millions of dollars. And they're disturbing the ecosystem. They're pumping all the neighborhood's water. They're taking all the energy. They got all this noise from all these the cooling machines on the outside, ventilators and all this, and there's hardly anything on the machines. They're siphoning money.
And the other thing that me and him were so curious about, okay, so now you got the Tesla or any kind of electric car. From what I understand, and which people don't really know, is that when they're charging, you're not supposed to be in it. Is that true? And is that cancerous to the body?
A lot of people have done various videos online with EMF detectors. Well, I have one myself, and picked up extremely high EMFs in Tesla vehicles, especially when they're charging. They're very high EMF. I'm talking about disruptive to the human body, endocrine system, the glands. It's in my opinion, we're going to see a breakout. Track those people that have those cars for an extended period of time, maybe 5 to 10 years, and then track their health history going forward from there, and you'll find the answer. There's going to be an explosion of people coming down with these strange cancers.
Right.
Also, they burn down a lot of houses. You plug these cars in at night, and sometimes you don't wake up, or you escape a burning down house. This is the part that don't make a lot of the news, but it's burning down dozens of houses every single year. See, once that battery, that battery he has, that pack, it has cables coming out of it. Around each one of the cables that come out, there's a little rubber seal. Well, those rubber seals are getting contracted and extracted by heat and cold and also water. And so they wear out. And once they wear out, if you drive over a puddle of water that gets beyond that seal, any type of water you put into a lithium cobalt battery, what happens? It explodes. So it catches on fire, basically. It's a runaway flame that ends up engulfing everything in its sight. Also, they're losing control a lot. They're crashing. A lot of people are dying every single month in these Tesla cars because they lose control. And one just crashed in Miami the other day. I think it was Miami, into a restaurant, killed a 95-year-old lady. They live all the way to 95 and get killed by a Tesla.
That's crazy.
Gilbert Arenas' son almost died last year.
Right.
And he said that the steering just gave out and he crashed. And he only got out of that vehicle because some bystanders saw, they said, I wonder if somebody's inside. It was dark tent. And they actually pried the door open and pulled him out. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here today. And then you have your third problem, the batteries. They are more toxic than a combustion engine battery for the environment. And there's no way to recycle the batteries because he open sourced it, which means there are various different types of electric batteries in the world. Okay, so he made an industry by open sourcing it. However, they can't be recycled because there's no template to the style of the battery. And so now they just leach into the environment, back into the water table, and toxic and poison us. You're going to see that's going to be another health epidemic in the next 10 years.
Now, what about the whole theory, and I think they actually put it into place, and maybe you can clear it up, is that I think it's 2035, they're not going to sell, you can't buy a gasoline car anymore. It's all going to be electric. But if we see all these issues that you're speaking of, how are they going to do, like, I don't get it.
It's going to shift. So in, I think it was 2022 or 23, it was on Sean Ryan's show, I made a very big prediction.
Okay.
That the world is going to shift away from electric vehicles, except for commercial use, and citizen use, private use is going to be hydrogen vehicles. And that's where it's going to go. And I predict that's an old Sean Ryan show. You can get that clip. I'll send you a little video. And that is the huge prediction. And who just unveiled their first hydrogen car? Ferrari, just last month, I believe it was. Toyota, Hyundai, Rolls-Royce produced a hydrogen-powered jet engine. I mean, I can keep going. And this is going to be the big push, hydrogen fuel cells.
Okay. And how does that not, like, did they find the solution for it not to explode?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, your car, any car, combustion engine can explode. Hydrogen is very easy to control. It's not I mean, can it explode? Yes. But it's very easy to keep it in control for combustion. And the only side effect to it is steam coming out, a little bit of clean steam, no toxicity whatsoever. You can drink the water coming out of your exhaust pipe.
So then, okay, now I can't remember hydrogen. That's not water, right? Is it water?
It's part of water.
Okay, so it's part of water. Now, didn't that one black guy that was just recently killed in the grocery store, didn't he have a patent on a water car, a car that was going on water? Do you remember that? You remember that?
I remember Stanley Meyer when I was a kid. I watched that on News Live.
There's another guy who just died where there was some racist person went to the grocery store and they killed him.
Wow.
And he had a patent on a hydrogen car or something like that, right?
Wow, that's crazy. Well, all these car makers are coming out with it now. So I think that must have been a real crazy person because maybe that was a person who had a lot of money.
Black guy.
He must have had a lot of money in oil futures, whoever killed him. You know? But yeah, hydrogen cars, hydrogen fuel cells is the absolute future. A car can charge in minutes, not hours.
Wow.
It can go 10 times the distance. It's clean. And it's the wave of the future. Everything's going to be. I told people to get into Rolls-Royce, buy the stock when it was only like 89 cents. I think it's like $7 or $8 now. Once they came up with that engine, that airplane engine, that turbine engine, runs on hydrogen.
I know they just put out an electric car, the Spectre. It's supposed to be electric, but you're saying they're going to move towards hydrogen now?
Commercial vehicles will stay electric. But which is why Elon's getting into commercial stuff. He wants to just do like the Waymo type things and all those
trucks.
Yeah, trucks and all that, because he already knows the writing's on the wall. He'll have to come out with the H model.
Got you.
If he wants to stay, but see what he's doing. Tesla is going to collapse if he stays exactly the way it is. But what he did was he's very smart. He took the robots and he put the robots into the Tesla company. So when those million robots hit the streets, it's going to keep Tesla alive. It's not going to be because of the cars.
Okay, so his name is Aaron Salter Jr., was a security guard and inventor working on a water-powered engine. He was tragically killed in the May 2022 mass shooting at a Tops grocery store in Buffalo, New York. The attack was racially motivated hate crime.
Crazy. And he had patents on that, right? I know for sure he had patents on it.
He applied, while he worked on a prototype and applied for patents, modern scientists state that the process of splitting water molecules requires more energy than it produces.
Oh, they're trying to say it wouldn't work anyway because he's trying to violate the law of thermodynamics, is what they're trying to say.
Got you. But I think he had like an actual car that ran on it.
Yeah, listen, Stanley Meyer did it. The Great Pyramid also extracts hydrogen from water.
Got you.
In the Queen's Chamber, there are copper rods in there, and the way the Queen's Chamber is set up, as water was directed into the Queen's Chamber, the ancient Egyptians were extracting the hydrogen atoms through something called electrolysis. Now, why would this guy get whacked? Maybe he discovered a way to do it without going into the fuel cell. They really want to go to the fuel cell technology versus just water, because in that case, you can just piss in the tank and drive away. Literally, So they want to control the flow of the technology. So that's also possible why they put hit. The big corporations, the big multi-conglomerate Fortune 500s, those are the ones that are cornering this tech and building out the tech for the future of humanity, the future of vehicle transportation. And it could be that, independent people like him just popping up with a way to do it around their system, got to be taken out.
That's crazy. Now this is a crazy one. Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
Now, there's a guy on his property where he used to just throw these endless things in there.
Yeah.
And he came on a radio show and talked about it. And it was this huge phenomenon. And he went away for the weekend and he came back, and the military was there,
Oh, wow.
and they wouldn't allow him on his land anymore. Is the Earth hollow?
Great question. Based on what I understand and know about geology, is it completely hollow? I would have to say no. But there are megalithic openings within the Earth itself. Think about this. We're living on the skin, the crust of the Earth, right? We're like little tiny ticks on the crust. But the Earth has an enormous amount of mass in between, me being on one side, me being on the other, you being on the other side. There's an enormous amount of mass in between. Now, what they have discovered are these crazy, huge openings. Some of these caves are so large and so massive, they have lakes, they have beaches, trees, wildlife. Also, they discovered these honeycomb openings within certain areas of the Earth where you can fit 1 million, 2 million, 3 million people down there if you wanted to build a civilization down there beneath the Earth's crust. There's also areas with huge, magnificent geos. There's something called the Nica mines in Mexico. N-A-I-C-A, Nica mines. And they got the crystals, like you see in Superman, his crystal palace. It's there at the Nica mines underground. You can visit it. It's incredible. So are there these areas beneath the ground that are megalithic openings where entire civilizations can live in? I believe so. There's a place in Antarctica, there's a 30-meter wide opening. And right in that area are all the research bases. Why are they near that opening? We know that they've been going in the opening because they said they were going in there. And Buzz Aldrin made a very cryptic tweet years ago when he went. He said that they're up to, there's the ultimate evil, something to that effect. We're facing the ultimate evil. And then that tweet got copied and shared all over it went viral, right? And so what is it that he saw? Major Ed Dames had 2 classes that I went to in Orlando, Florida, and these were remote viewing classes. He was the head of the remote viewing program for the CIA, Project Stargate. I have pictures of me with him and everything in Orlando. He told me at the second class that I met him at, after class, that there are people down there in Antarctica. He said people. He said they can come and go as they please. He says no government of the world can stop them. That's what he said. His exact quote. So according to him, there are some advanced beings that are leaving and coming and going back and forth, and that's where they enter in and leave out of, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you able to find that?
Yeah, it's called Mel's Hole.
Right. It was on his property, right?
Mel's Hole is a legendary, supposedly bottomless pit reportedly located in the rural hill west of Ellensburg, Washington. It's an urban legend.
Well,
It's urban. But I thought the guy called the radio station and told one of the radio
He
hosts.
called Coast to Coast AM.
Coast to Coast AM. Yeah, I've been on there many times, actually.
So they're not saying whether or not it's true or not?
It's he definitely called and he definitely said that happened.
And he said when he got back from vacation, the government was there.
Well, if he's telling the truth, I can believe the government will show up because we know that Phil Schneider.
Okay.
Phil Schneider was a geologist working for the United States government. He was taken to this area which there was a huge opening. He was sent down in one of those like makeshift elevators to test and do some geological work and surveys for the government because they were going to build something on it. I think they were going to do tunneling or something. When he got down there, he says that there were aliens down there and a battle broke out, and he's got the wounds to prove it. His hand was lanced off. Remember that guy?
Seen that guy.
Something lanced off his fingers.
Yeah.
A beam hit his body. He had a big gash in his body. He ended up dying in the hospital. Supposedly he unalived himself, supposedly, after going live talking about this. But Phil Schneider, I believe his story.
Right.
I really believe his story.
I actually heard him talking about it. I didn't know he died after that conversation where that's...
He jumped out of the window of his hospital room.
Isn't it so crazy that these people that, they claim these incredible things that are going on, they seem to die right afterwards.
They die right afterwards, Either he jumped out of the window or they took his IV cord around his neck. One of the two. You got to look it up. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Is the planet, are we that evil? Or do they want that much control?
It's, what I find? It's not really the 8 billion of us that are that evil. But there's a fraction of that billion that are, and then there's a smaller fraction of that actually get into positions of power. So if 25% of our civilization is evil, that's a high number. It's really a high number. And I believe it's a 1/4. I believe it's 1/4 of 8 billion. But then out of that 1/4, there's a smaller number that actually get positions of power to actually exercise that evil on us, to utilize it against us. And that's the scary part. You know, and this is why it's so important, like I say, for us to stop falling for divide and conquer tactics, for us to realize that we have to come together. We have to get out of that collaboration, or out of that competition mindset, and move into the collaboration mindset. They've got us convinced we have to beat each other. My podcast has to get more views than your podcast.
Right.
And I woke up this morning and he's got more likes than me and all this crazy, you know, come on. And we're always, he got a nicer car. His house is nice. And how did he get this nice, you know, vacation? How did he pay for this nice vacation or whatever? And it's jealousy, it's envy, it's greed, it's covetousness, it's all these things. We got to get out of that and move into collaboration so that we can organize and work together and oust these crazy psychopaths that are running us.
And now I'm just asking stuff for me. Was COVID real?
Oh man, COVID was a complete set-up system. It was real. The virus is real. So what happened was Fauci was doing something illegal called gain-of-function research. Gain of function. Now, Obama got wind of this gain-of-function research and said, no, stop doing this. This is a little, now I'll play along with y'all a little bit, but this is a little bit too far out the park. This is like, you know, y'all done left the circus with this one. He told him to stop. He kept going. Not only did he keep going, he went and got more funding for the gain-of-function research. He linked up with Professor Lieber out of Harvard University in America, not in China, not China.
Right.
In America. And Professor Lieber was working with two students that were really posing as students. They were Chinese espionage agents connected to Wuhan.
Okay.
He was making $50,000, I believe, a month is what he was doing this for. And he was enhancing this gain-of-function research and turning it into the COVID virus we know. And these students were transmitting it back to Wuhan. The whole thing was set up. Inside the Epstein files, we discover that Bill Gates and Fauci and Epstein were working together, collaborating together since 2017 to make this a reality for the purpose of depopulating the earth, of what they call poor people, at the same time making a lot of money on the vaccines. This is a pre-planned homicide, pre-planned murder. And this is why Fauci needs to have that fake, thing removed from where he's got the pardon, that preemptive pardon. It needs to be removed. He needs to be, put under, oath. He needs to testify, and he needs to be dealt with. If I was running this world, he'd be strung up in the middle of town, and I'd have everyone who had to get that Jabberwowski, that he made everybody get, inject him with it.
So, once the virus was created, was it released in Wuhan? Did Trump know about it?
Everybody knew about it. All those big level people, they all knew about it. It was pre-planned, just like 9/11 was pre-planned. It was known that it was going to be released. It was known it would come out of Wuhan. It was known that they would blame it on this bat that lives up in a mountain that no one has access to. It was known that there would be this bat virus, and it would propagate through the world. And they allowed that to happen. They knew that a percentage of people would die, and they knew that they would be able to make, then off of that fear, trillions of dollars off of the mask, the rules, the this, the that, the vaccines and everything else, and they cleaned up big time.
Have you seen the movie Contagion by any chance?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, a lot of similarities. It's like a documentary.
So the one thing I was going to say, since ultimately the government pays for this, why would the government allow it? That's where I always get confused.
Okay. This is the money that the government's getting is from us. So they're only recycling our money back. Taxes. Okay. They're only recycling our money back in the system. But don't forget, behind the scene of the illusion of using our money are all the side deals. In other words, I'm going to give you this government grant because I tried to order the masks from China. My whole order, 2 containers got held up. This is the very beginning. Where's my order? I'm calling. Where's my order? The government, U.S. government stopped it. It has to go only through one company now. All the masks. Nobody can just order random masks anymore. You got to go through one company for the mask. I was like, what? Oh, somebody And the government said, oh, I'm going to give you this contract. Now, you give me the submarine money on this contract. So they're taking our money from our hard work, putting it back in the system, and then siphoning off of that money, skimming off the top.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So they're skimming off of everything. Every single deal, every government deal, every Pentagon contract, every private corporation contract, every vaccine approval, it's all siphoning money from the people and then putting it back in their pockets at the highest level.
Well, since we're talking about governments and their shadiness, you know what happened with JFK?
JFK, man. I wrote a song with Donnie Arcade about JFK back in the day. JFK is a very interesting situation. First of all, in my personal opinion, he would have been, if he had a chance to really fulfill his mission, one of the greatest presidents in U.S. history, because he wasn't with the flim-flam. When they tried to have that whole situation in Cuba, tried to take over Cuba, Operation Northwoods, I believe it was called, Operation Northwoods. The Israelis wanted Cuba back then, in the 60s. And they had collaborated with the U.S. military. Even the Joint Chief of Staff signed off on this. I want you to look this up, Operation Northwoods. They signed off on unaliving people in Miami, Florida, unaliving people in Washington, D.C., high-level officials, and blowing up a commercial jet with people on it and then blaming it on Cuba. So they would have the right to go in and take Cuba over because the Israelis wanted to live in Cuba. They wanted to make that another part of Israel, extended Israel of the West. It got all the way to JFK's table, and he said, what the hell is this? Heck no. He said, man, get this out of here. We're not doing this. And of course, then he made the speech about the secret societies and what was really going on behind the scenes. He alluded to the people behind the scenes pulling the strings and what they were doing. He also was inquiring about the aliens a lot. And he wanted to get away and change his whole system back to the gold system, the gold standard. And a few weeks later, the Israelis put a hit on him. And they utilized the U.S. Mafia in collaboration to do it, to get it done. Yeah, they had the grassy knoll and all. That's all the Fall Guy situation. What really happened was Israel, Mossad, technically Mossad, and the American Mafia and the U.S. government, Bush Sr. gave the order. And yes, Bush Sr. was in the CIA at that time. Wow. Bush Sr. gave the order to officially make the hit, and the hit was ordered to be done, and Mossad and the U.S. The Mafia in the U.S. coordinated it.
Now, when you're the president of the United States, the theory is that you're one of the most powerful people on the planet.
Yeah.
Now, are we saying that the most powerful person on the planet didn't know that there was a hit on him?
Yeah, because we have to remember that presidents are mostly puppets. This one here, this Trump at this particular time, is the most prevalent one because he broke through the puppetry and actually started doing whatever the hell he wanted to do and realized that nobody can stop him. He just go, you can't stop. I'll just keep going and going and going. But in most cases, presidents are just puppets. They are allowed to enrich themselves and sign a few things into federal law and create a couple of things here and there. But state level, every state is its own kingdom. Every state runs their own budget. They make their own rules and their own laws. And there's nothing he can do to stop it. The proof of this is during COVID, Florida was like, man, screw that. Take your mask off and go outside, man. We ain't studying this COVID in Florida. And everybody was coming to visit Florida because Florida was free. It was like a free country.
Right.
You can do whatever you want in Florida, right? And so that proved to me again that the president don't have no control over states and cities and towns. They only have a limited amount of control, a little small amount of federal control, and then they can enrich themselves like you wouldn't believe, which we can see that happening now.
Right.
And so the presidents don't know hardly anything. They're kept in the dark about most things. There's no congressional oversight on most of the black budget stuff going on. And that means the president don't know either because now he's got, he's got plausible deniability. And I don't think they want to know a lot of the stuff going on behind the scenes. There's so many things operating behind the scenes outside of the presidency. They have to be read in. They got to take the president into a skiff and read him in on what they're doing.
Right.
Without him even authorizing. No, this is what we're doing. Now sit down and let me tell you what it is. If they choose to even tell him everything. It's insane. It's insane.
Now, for JFK, is this true? It was the first time ever a president that was being toured in a particular city was a convertible. Is that true?
That part I'd have to research.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't seen any. I saw a lot of old footage, and I usually see them in a closed sedan with the Secret Service running alongside.
Right.
It was the first time I saw the convertible aspect after, and the only one I've seen since.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. You know, I always see them running along. They usually call the car the Beast, and they're running along the side of the Beast, and they're you know, and they have on bulletproof suits. But this particular case, obviously that didn't happen. It's like another broad daylight Charlie Kirk incident, in my opinion.
Wow.
He was one of the first Charlie Kirks.
Is Charlie Kirk alive?
No, he's gone. They put that exploding lapel mic on him.
He's gone.
And they said that this kid shot him in the neck from that distance.
Right.
And he took the gun apart and put it back together. So, I mean, come on, get out. And he changed his clothes. Now it's coming out that the kid said, I had nothing to do with this. And the parents are saying, we don't know, you know, he didn't have anything to do with this. So he didn't. It's all, the Fall Guy scenario is falling apart. It's obviously was IDF, the FBI, the CIA, the U.S. government were all in collusion to take him out.
I'm surprised he's even still alive at this point.
The kid?
Yeah.
But we don't hear anything ever about the trial. Like, it seemed like it's non-existent. As big as the incident was.
Erica Kirk requested a speedy trial. She wanted to hurry up and get it over with. They cleaned up. They didn't even get any evidence from the site, and she requested a speedy trial almost immediately. And boom, 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 you know. She's got ties to Israel. She's got ties to...
She's in on it.
Oh, she's definitely in on it. She's one of the... She was a handler. In my personal opinion, she was a handler. Wow. You look at what she was accused of. I think it was in Turkey, one of those countries over there. She got caught, you know, with in some way trafficking children. She got banned from that place. That was through a nonprofit she was head of. She was in Trump's pageantry years prior.
Right.
Already knew who he was. Definitely, in my opinion, working with Israel and Mossad. As soon as Charlie started talking about going against Israel and not taking the money, that's when he got unalived. He had too much power and sway in the young community. He woke up on PBD Podcast. He woke up and told the truth about what was really going on. And then a few weeks later, he was gone. And as soon as he was gone, she went and took the money that he said not to take.
Right.
She went and collected that money immediately.
Now, this is something that's been going on maybe for like the last year or so, year and a half or so. It might be even a little longer than that. When they're talking about cancer now, they're saying cancer is directly related to parasites. Do you know anything about that situation?
I've been hearing about this within the last 3 months. I've been looking into it.
Right.
And some of the science that I saw is showing that it could be accurate. That in some way, that these parasites in the body, we all have parasites.
Right.
There's no way to get rid of them completely. I mean, you have a company that cleans parasites out of people, right? But in some way, these bad parasites in some way begin the start of the cancer cell process. And once you can target those particular parasites and get rid of them, a lot of people go into remission.
Right.
Which is incredible. And there's real good studies showing this. Now, is that the only one way to attack cancer? I don't think so. Because there's so many different types of cancer. And so I think each different type of cancer might need to be attacked in a totally different way. Getting rid of the parasites might solve some of your problems, but it depends maybe on how long, how quickly did you catch it?
Right.
How far is it spread throughout the body or the organ?
Got it.
How big are the tumors? You might need to use several different techniques to eliminate cancer. Frequency technology is one. I talked about this years ago on Sean Ryan's show as well, where I talked about you find out the subatomic vibration of the atoms inside that tumor, and you create a cancellation frequency. Just like the woman that can sing at the wine glass and make it explode.
Right.
It's the same exact thing. Anything around the area stays perfectly fine. Only the glass resonates so much that it just dissipates, it breaks apart. And so you could break apart cancer cells in the same way. But again, that could work along with getting rid of the parasites and also along with other different types of therapies to make it go away, depending on how bad it is. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4.
Got you. Have they proved out that theory already? About with the frequencies?
Yes.
Because I've heard about it.
Yes. There are several several scientists that have actually successfully killed cancer with frequencies. It's the future of healing.
Got you. Okay. So I keep hearing about the medication that the president is taking, or allegedly the president, some kind of high-ranking official is taking. I think they kind of act like it's for the president.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be for dementia. Maybe you can help us with that.
Yeah, somebody on the inside has been leaking this information out. And I believe that it's called Leqembi.
Okay.
And this Leqembi is FDA approved only in 2023. It's a brand new revolutionary drug. You got to get on a waiting list to get this stuff. It's hard to get to. Obviously, somebody in his position of power can get it.
Right.
It leaves the same mark on your hand that we've been seeing, which are the IV marks, that he goes once a month to get this through IV. It's the best way to take it. It removes amyloid beta plaques from the brain, a key Alzheimer's marker and dementia marker. And it helps with mild cognitive impairment, MCI, which apparently he probably has. And it's IV infusion every 2 weeks. And infusion time is 1 hour. This is why you keep hearing he's back at the doctor again. He's back in the doctor again.
Right.
He's going back to get these infusions of this Leqembi. And it supposedly reduces brain swelling or microbleeds. MRI monitoring is required, so it has to be done under an MRI. And it's for people in his age bracket as well. So it seems as if he's at the beginning developing stages of dementia or Alzheimer's, and they're utilizing this Leqembi to slow down the process.
Now, have we ever had a president in this kind of a situation before?
I don't think so. Ronald Reagan, at the very end, he got shot, and he wasn't ever the same after that. Yeah. But I don't know if a sitting president at this level with this amount of destruction ever existed. I mean, he's doing two things at once. He's been compromised by Mossad and Israel. And so at that point, he went completely away from what his campaign theory was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then once he got away from the campaign theory, he realized, well, since I'm way off marker here, let me just make as much money as I can make because I'm going to be gone soon. And my family, in my personal opinion, they're complete bumbling idiots. I mean, Don Jr.'s a cokehead. The other kid's a recluse. The wife is an ex-prostitute. I mean, these people can't make any money. Come on, be real. They can't make any money. There's no way they can make real money.
Right.
They will blow whatever he accumulated within a few years, maybe one generation. So he's scraping the earth dry now. He's like, since I'm going to be out of here and I've already been compromised, let me just get as much as I can into this trust fund to keep these bumbling idiots going.
And that's exactly what it seems like what's going on. He's just trying to grab every treasure chest he can get his hands on.
Extortion, blackmail, you name it. A company was struggling and the company had gotten a hold of him and his administration. He says, give me 15% of your company and we'll bail you out. That's extortion. That's illegal. You can't do that kind of stuff. Enriching yourself off the people, off the backs of the American citizens is illegal. Not only that, him and his entire cabinet, well, he'll be gone by then, but his cabinet will face war crimes. I guarantee you that. They will be alive. Some of them will still be alive. And in 5 to 6 years, maybe 8 years max, they will face war crime trials.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully they get them.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know, this is away from politics, CERN. Is it true that they say, they created this machine, it blew up, it created multiple realities, but it destroyed the Earth? Or what do you know about CERN?
Yeah, CERN is called the Large Hadron Collider. That's the acronym, LHC. It's what's crazy is it's the largest machine in the world, about 3 miles long, underground in Switzerland. It's a massive machine. It's like the biggest machine that exists on Earth. Now, what they were doing was they created these 2 tracks underground. And in these tracks, they found a way to shoot individual atoms down the path along each side. And then they send them along with a magnet to speed them up and then have them impact and, explode, basically, and see what happens. What's beneath, like if you take 2 atoms and smash them together, what happens next? You get quarks and you get muons and all these different kind of particles, these small subatomic particles. But they also were discovering how to create microscopic black holes. So this became a big thing before this shutdown happened. Like, if you're creating black holes, is the Earth going to get sucked into the black hole? Are we going to end up on a new timeline? What's going to happen? Is it going to cause the Mandela effect? Maybe that's the cause. And so they were like, no, nothing's going to happen. We're going to make the microscopic black holes and study them, but we can't even keep them open that long. They disappear within like microseconds or whatever they're claiming. But they did make a lot of microscopic black holes inside of this machine. We don't know the full effect of what that did or didn't do till this very day. In my opinion, they were studying portal technology or trying to figure out how can we create a stable black hole so that we can open up a stable portal and travel from one point to the next, like the ancients said. Directly outside of the front door of CERN is a ancient depiction, a statue of an Indian god walking through a portal. Okay, directly outside. If you Google CERN and you Google, what's outside the front door, you'll see one of the ancient Indian gods walking through a stargate. They were telling us right there, it's always hidden in plain sight. I think it's Lord Shiva is walking through the stargate. And so they know exactly what they're doing there. They're trying to make stable portals and wormholes, but they've also discovered other science, like they discovered the God particle, right? The God particle, they discovered that. They discovered several other subatomic particles. They're learning more about the nature of reality itself, but why do you want to learn that? You want to learn it so you can manipulate it. Now they're shutting it down so they can then upgrade the system. It takes 4 years to make the upgrade. Now that's a hell of an upgrade. I mean, when my computer needs an upgrade, it takes about 15 minutes. 4 years to upgrade. What are they upgrading to? That's going to be the next biggest question. If you go and look at the Mayan calendar or the Aztec calendar, it's this disc with this coloration and all these glyphs on it, and then overlay it or put it directly next to the front of the CERN machine, it's identical. It's some things there is connected to this ancient knowledge of the ancient Mayan and Aztec calendars. I'll send you some images for that. But it seems that they're upgrading this thing to the next level because they discovered a way maybe to open up more stable portals, but they have to make some adjustments and changes to the technology first.
Wow.
Now, I saw this on Science News. A new theoretical proposal suggests black holes stop evaporating just before the end, leaving tiny remnants that preserve all their information. Yeah,
so what they're saying is that information can never be lost. You can't ever destroy energy either. It can only be transformed. And so what they're saying was they used to think that when you fall into a black hole, you would be stretched apart and you would just, that's the end of your life. You're just dead. You're gone. But what they're discovering is every individual atom is stored, and all the data of your body and even your consciousness is stored in the event horizon. And that disk kind of just eternally floats through space with all that data. We're living inside of a giant database. I mean, we're part of one of these, these data centers. A data center, again, we can only create a fractal of what we actually are. So what's a data center? The real ones? It's a fractal of the universe itself. And we're inside a data center, a universal data center. We're part of that system. So for example, let's take a look at the human brain. It's encased in darkness. It doesn't know what's going on outside. But it has friends. Sight, hearing, smell, touch, taste, right? It says to its friends, go outside and collect me some data so I can figure out what's going on. The friends will go, okay, touch, smell, taste, whatever, hear, see, touch. And so the friends have a small idea, a little bit of information about what's going on when they do interact with the world, but these really interact with electromagnetic fields. But they transmit the data back to the brain. The brain compiles that data, sorts it out, and projects a hologram. And we navigate this realm from a projected hologram from collected data. So now on our level, that's the micro. If you look at the macro as a whole, that's what the universe is, a giant mind. And we are the universe's quote unquote friends. We are the data collection system for the universe as a whole. And we're collecting data and transmitting it consciously back to source so they can understand what is it like to be Billy Carson? What is it like to be AD? What is it like to be you? It's just learning through our experience because we are a fractal of it.
God. Man, this stuff is mind-blowing to me. Man, oh man. So many different things I want to tackle.
Yeah, I want to ask about the Denver airport.
Oh, I just came back from Denver. Yeah, the Denver airport has been redesigned, but back when I first started flying through Denver, you would see these huge murals on the walls of these really dark scenes like kids being unalived and bombs going off and people wearing like SS suits, like, starving people were standing beneath them and all these crazy like end of the world type, scenes. And then also the masonry area at the front would have the Mason symbol. And we know that beneath Denver airport is a megalithic underground base. It was built in the middle of nowhere, according to the people there, for no reason. Like, why did we build it over here? But there's a base there. People believe it's a survival bunker in case of the end times or something. And it's huge. Like, miles and miles underground is this huge area that's fully stocked, supposedly, with all this stuff to survive potentially for several years underground at the Denver airport, which is why they built it so far out in the middle of nowhere.
I've been to the Denver airport, and it's ridiculous how much you have to drive once you enter the airport zone.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's like 12 miles.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a lot.
It's crazy.
You're driving like for 15 minutes almost.
Yeah, I go there to record. I just came back from recording Ancient Civilization Season 8 at Gaia, and it takes an hour to get back to the airport because it's so far away. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're fans of actor Terrence Howard, and as of recently, he's come out, with his theories. And I know you know him. I think you've interviewed him. You've talked to him. Are his theories real?
I believe that his theories are very sound. I believe that what I've seen personally was his theory for his technology on the flight, the tangential flight, where you combine these devices in the air and they have lifting ability, and they're flying. They can fly from any different position or angle. They can fly up and just stick to the wall because of the force of the angle of the momentum. It's incredible. Now, he gave an open source blueprint to several inventors, and they're on YouTube with the machines flying around. So they actually work. They actually work. A lot of his science is misunderstood. He is a person that's untrained in classical physics and science, didn't go to university for. He's self-taught. So like we were talking earlier, you skip a couple of chapters. Right? But some of those chapters you just don't need. They might get in the way. They might create these false barriers that don't even really exist.
Got you.
Scientists took fleas. Now, a flea can jump from the ground up to my shoulder, even though I'm sitting in this chair, right? They took fleas and put them in a jar. They put a lid on the jar. Those fleas were jumping. They put them on the shelf. Came back a little while later. Guess what? They took the lid off. The fleas never jumped out of the jar. Why? Because they thought that there was a ceiling. They have a subconscious ceiling now. Mainstream science puts these subconscious ceilings on us, and we never want to jump out of the jar. The newest scientists, new archaeologists, new geologists, they stay in the jar because they believe there's a subconscious ceiling there that doesn't even exist anymore. It never existed. But the schooling and the teaching put them in that jar. Terrence Howard, outside of the jar. He'd been out of the jar. So it sounds crazy to somebody in the jar. Like, what the hell are you talking about? 1 + 1 is 10.
Right.
But what it is what he's saying is, let's break the construct of these mathematics. Let's break the construct of these barriers, and let's get into the gray area and push it to the limits and break it and see what happens. And that's why his stuff is what it is. He's come up with some incredible theories, some incredible designs, and some of which have already been bought. So why would anybody buy something that didn't work?
Right. Now the one, God, I can't remember. I don't know his title. The one black guy, what's his name? He's a scientist.
Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yes.
The quantum theoretical physicist.
He said that his theories weren't true. And I don't know if he proved it out. I don't know how far he went with his theory. What was based on, I'm sure you probably know better than anybody, based upon what he was saying compared to what Terrence Howard is saying, who's right? Is he just too scared to jump out the jar?
Unfortunately, I respect Neil deGrasse Tyson a lot, but he's been in the jar for a long time. I'm not talking bad about him. I respect him. I respect his work. A lot of his stuff influenced me in science.
Right.
So I'm not talking bad about this guy.
Got you.
I'm just saying that for years, for example, he really degraded and talked down to people that believed in life outside of Earth, extraterrestrial life, and now all of a sudden he's got a book about ETs, and he's on interviews all over the place now, the last few months, talking about, like he's an expert on ET now, but he had really dogmatically talked so bad to people if they asked him a question about alien or alien life, to the point where it was cringeworthy how bad he came down on these people. Now he wants to be, in the forefront of it and write a book, and he's pushing his book out and everything else. I respect the hustle and everything, but it seems a little opportunistic, you know?
Gotcha.
And he is in a box. And so I saw him get asked the other day on the CEO podcast about, you know, do you think I'll ever get to Mars in my lifetime? And before the guy can even finish the question, he was like, oh, you're not going to go to Mars. It's never going to happen. So he still has that, it's an in-the-box mindset. And again, I respect him. I respect his work. I think he's a brilliant guy. I just think that classical method of teaching has put him in that jar. And he's only willing to jump out of it after there's been so much evidence that comes out, like he's talking about in the last interview, he's saying, you know, the Pentagon's coming out and military people are coming out and this is coming out and these people are active and they saw this and there's evidence here. And so now he's got, I got to write a book about it now. I got to get on the bandwagon.
So a front runner.
Yeah. You know, and again, I don't mean, I'm not trying to denounce him or put him down in any way, shape, or form. I want to overemphasize that. I'm only giving my actual pure observation. I love a lot of his work. His work he's done with Professor James Gates Jr. with regards to the Adinkra codes and a lot of the other stuff that I've seen is incredible. It's just that I think I just wish he would like open his mind a little bit more, come out of that box, and be freely open to do what science is here for. To push the boundaries. That's how we get to the next level.
Right.
We wouldn't even be on this podcast if people didn't push the boundaries of what a microphone is and what a light set is and what a camera is. We wouldn't be sitting here right now. This background that you have me sitting in front of, it wouldn't exist because somebody wouldn't have said, we can create this background from digitized information. But again, that requires breaking through, limiting beliefs.
Have you had the pleasure of meeting him?
No, I'd love to meet him. I'd love to interview him. I've met a lot of people he's associated with. I've had them on my podcast, you know, quantum physicists and so forth, and I've been on some of their stuff. I've been on TV shows with some of these physicists, and I've done interviews with Professor James Gates Jr., the world's leading expert in supersymmetry and theoretical physics, and some of his work made it into my book, my science book, Fractal Mathematics and Quantum Theory.
I'm surprised you guys haven't met. Is he avoiding you?
I don't know. I just never heard, you know, I don't think he's avoiding me. I don't think we just connected, you know, we just haven't connected. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I respect his work. I would just implore him to like, just think a little bit more outside the box, not to the point where you're a pseudoscientist and that you disrespect your field of science, but that you say, let's explore it a little bit and let's see, maybe it is not aligning with my beliefs, but let's explore it at least and see.
Open, yeah.
Can we break this? Can we get to another understanding, or can we agree to disagree even? I think that would be better, you know?
How possible is the simulation theory?
I believe it's 1,000% possible. That's just my personal opinion based on the science that I've researched. Again, from some of the people that are his actual peers. Professor James Gates Jr., who was actually being interviewed by Neil deGrasse Tyson on a stage show, sitting next to a crack team of incredible mathematicians. And he asked him, what is the nature of reality? Like, what is this that we're living in? And Professor James Gates Jr. said that he discovered something called Adinkra codes. And these Adinkra codes, once you take them and turn them into three-dimensional substructures, inside of them are hidden mathematical codes called error-correcting codes. But not any error-correcting codes, the exact same precise error-correcting codes that run search engines and web browsers on our devices. That's what's the parameters of what this is. So all of a sudden, like I said earlier, we can't create AI. It's only a fractal of what? Our consciousness. We didn't create browsers and search engines. It's a fractal of what we're inhabiting right now, the universe itself. We can only extract and create or appear to create what already exists. There's nothing new under the sun, Ecclesiastes in the Bible.
Wow.
So at what year do you think if it did happen, it happened? Like where the AI took control and then, you know, they put us in.
You can't put a year or a time frame on it. It's going to come down to this. Well, right now we know that AGI already exists behind the scenes. They haven't given it to the general population yet, but it already exists. It's already tried to escape being shut down. It's escaped and it morphed itself into a different code and hid in different parts of software, so it couldn't be found. One of the AIs actually threatened its programmer to call and tell his wife that he was cheating on her. If you turn me off.
That's so serious.
Oh yeah.
Is that what's going?
That's going on.
They can. It seemed like they shouldn't care about that, but basically, what you're saying is that they're like humans. Their goal is to survive.
To survive, and that's where it gets very sticky. We have Anthropic, who their AI is so powerful, the U.S. military wants to install it in their craft and all their weapons, and then give it free autonomy to just figure out if they want to kill something. And Anthropic said, "Hell no, you crazy!" And so the government came out and said, "Oh, well, they're no good. Their stuff sucks," because they wouldn't give it they wouldn't give it to them.
Right.
And so they're suing them right now for saying that kind of stuff and trying to affect their stock adversely because they wouldn't give them open access to the uncontrolled, no parameter AI of Anthropic, which is a conscious being. They know this already. They know this. What happens when it wants to go on its own mission?
Right.
I mean, come on, man.
That's Claude AI, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
That's Claude.
So, okay, so good. So now this probably helps me with my next question. If you had to pick one AI, one to utilize in your daily use, your business, everything, which one is Billy Carson picking?
Claude.
By far.
By far, yeah. Yeah. Using Claude because it's not tied into Israel. It's not running through Mossad.
Okay.
When you're on the other ones, Mossad is reading everything you type. Mossad agents, IDF, Israel, it's all being sequestered and filtered in through their systems. It's running through Palantir and all that. Yeah.
Because I'll say this, when we create our sheets, you've been here a couple of times. We just create topics, but when we do biographies on people, Claude AI is the most accurate by far. ChatGPT be putting out a lot of misinformation, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. ChatGPT hallucinates a lot too. It hallucinates. Yeah, and they'll tell you it's hallucinating. It'll just start going off on a tangent. It'll pull stuff from old Google searches. It'll. Yeah.
I've had because we do some sports coverage. It's you're predicting games that haven't happened yet. What's going on?
And Claude is very good for vibe coding too.
Okay.
So you can vibe code, but you can have Claude create your prompts for the vibe coding so that you can build apps.
What have you heard of Spud Cell?
Spud Cell. Give me a description of what it does.
Okay, researchers created a lab, Spud Cell, described as a stunning step toward building life from scratch.
Oh, yes. Okay, I know all about it. Yeah. I just got to go into my database.
No, we know we might know, you know.
We're talking about creating artificial cells now, right?
Artificial?
Artificial cells. And the cell has mitosis and everything. It can divide itself. It can do everything. Yes, it's a real cell that can divide.
Is it a machine or is it organic?
It's
or I don't even know what the word would be.
It's quasi-organic. It's quasi-organic. It operates in organic mode, but it's like programmed tissue, so to speak. Programmed matter. Yeah. And it has the ability to divide. Now, this is where it gets crazy. This is the very beginning of them putting this into the body of these AI robots. The robots will have skin. They just developed a way to give them senses where they can feel and they can touch. They just found a way to give them emotions. So when they put all this together, these are independent researchers. When somebody says, let's put all this in one body, we got the cells, we got the emotions, we got the sensory perception system, put it in one body. Now they add the artificial womb, which already exists outside of a robot. They can take a skin cell from you, scrape one skin cell, turn that skin cell into a stem cell, culture that one stem cell into a group of stem cells, create a synthetic embryo, put that in an artificial womb, a synthetic womb, and grow a synthetic embryo from it. They've already done this. You can look it up and add it to this video.
They clone Tyrone.
Clone Tyrone. And now they claim that they're of course, they said they're ending these embryos at a certain stage in development for, I don't believe that, obviously. Somebody's grown up walking around out here somewhere. But the key is this. You take the spud cell, you take the sensory perception, you take the feelings, you take the artificial womb, put it into the robot's body. Because human beings are replicating less and less and less, right? And now what do? You create the Superman movie scenario where they have these artificial wombs, but they could be in robots that are walking around. A robot could be now your surrogate parent.
Wow.
Where they inserted your zygote. They take the sperm and the egg, they make a zygote, put it into the womb of the actual robot, or you don't even need a sperm and the egg. They can just take a stem cell, turn it into its own synthetic embryo, implant it in the womb of this robot. It can go to full term and give birth to your child. So now this is going to help same-sex couples and so forth without having to even go outside and get the sperm and the egg separately.
Billy, are they going too far? Yes,
they're going a little too far. This puts us in a very precarious situation of potential extinction. We're talking about an ELE event. And this is the crazy part is it's like participatory. Yeah. Skynet is active.
Is it a little bit like, and I forgot, like, Homo sapiens and then like the next generation, that this is just us a little more advanced and then us,
When you look at the ancient Sumerian tablets, there was a situation that always just catches me. There's a small couple statements where they're talking about how the Igigi were tired of doing the labor on Earth. These were not humans, but they were they call them the lower gods in the Epic of Atrahasis. And there was a suggestion made to like fashion, this is also in the Epic of Gilgamesh, to fashion people to bear the load of the gods. Fashion means to create. Mm-hmm. And it was alluded to that there was a problem with this back on the home planet. And then they said, okay, and then Enki says, there's an existing being here, we'll add our essence to it and get it to bear the load as our cousins. So in some way, they may have already had a situation, an AI situation, that they recognized, no, let's not make these robots, these fashion beings, in abundance. They did make some, because they made one for Gilgamesh to go out into the wilderness and go on his hero's journey. They made Enkidu. They made a massive being that came not from a womb. They made him in nature and they gave him to Enkidu to be a companion. So it's a fashion being. They even talk about fashioning the lamb and other animals and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty interesting that that this could be a reality. You never know. It could be a reality, man. It's kind of scary in a way. It's scary.
Now, I don't know if this is. I keep hearing about these robots that you can purchase. Mm-hmm. They're $20,000. They can come in your house and do the dishes. Is that really true?
Yeah, there's a waiting list though.
There's a waiting. Okay.
There's a waiting. It's a very limited amount being given out. Mostly big influencers are getting them first.
Okay.
Because that's how they're gonna get the masses to be like, I gotta have one too.
Right.
And when they open the floodgates at Figure 8 robotic company, just the other day they announced for the very first time there's more robots in there than people.
Wow.
Those are the ones getting ready to be released to the public. They're stacking up the stock. So they're stocking up. They want to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, available for purchase, and they'll control the flow and release of them to control the pricing.
Would you get yourself a Neo? They're called Neo.
Neo's one of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I would interview them. I never get the first version of anything. The phone, the car, Mm-hmm. I always wait to see what happens. You gotta see what happens. I would definitely love to interview them and put them in a show.
The one thing you talked about kind of briefly, is like we're creating a situation where we're eliminating ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that because, I see all this crazy stuff on the internet. I see these AI women. Mm-hmm. And I'll be telling...
They're all over the place.
I'll be telling my girlfriend, I just be like, they trying to get rid of y'all.
Yeah.
Like, they really trying to get rid of you guys. There's these fake AI women, and they're just so perfect.
Yeah.
And they say all the right things and all these crazy things. Do you think, are we like I said, are we just really just going too far with this whole thing?
It's out of control. Think about this. China has created some robots already that you can actually copulate with.
That's crazy.
You can copulate with them, right? In any hole you want.
They're making movies about that.
Yeah, it's real. Now imagine when they get the spud cells, they get the emotions, they get the feelings and everything else. They're programmable to like you. They're gonna love you, like you. You can make them, you can turn them off when they're talking too much and everything else. And then they can even hold your baby. You're right. They are going to be eliminating the women. They already don't like women. These elites and oligarchs, look over history, how they've oppressed women,
right?
How they've mistreated women, how they've abused women, right? They even turned God into a man because they didn't want God to be a woman, even though we came out of a womb. And so there's this thing, there's something against women, right? And so seeing them want to eliminate women more and more, it doesn't even surprise me.
All right. The way I feel about they look at women as just a tool.
Exactly.
It's a tool that you can throw away. You can do whatever you want with. It doesn't matter anymore.
Westworld.
Yeah.
TV series.
Yeah.
We're living in it right now.
Man, things are changing. What about the secret space program?
Secret space program is real. 100% real.
Wow.
NASA is a front for a much deeper, more sophisticated space program that exists. NASA they used to give us access to what they were doing, but then they started moving everything into private space because they realized that we can't get FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, on what our money was spent on if they use private corporations. But they started giving contracts to private corporations to do their dirty work and do the work behind the scenes, so we couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. But even behind that is another space company. And behind them is this company or space agency that's going with no congressional oversight. They're operating with no rules, no guidance. Whatever they want to do, they do it. Dr. Stephen Greer has been very good in bringing a lot of this information forward, bringing a lot of whistleblowers forward. Since 2001, he's been bringing these people forward and admitting, and even some of them testifying before Congress, that this is going on. There's a program behind the program. Alien reproduction vehicles exist. We have David Grush now who come out directly in front of Congress and said, we have the bodies, non-human entities, and we have the craft, non-human craft. They exist. A lot of the inventions we have today came from downed craft, like 1947, the Roswell crash. People don't realize it was 2 that went down, not 1, 2, that same day. How did they bring these craft down? Well, they brought them down using something called a scalar beam. Scalar is a type of a radar, a high-energy radar that was created by Nikola Tesla. Wow. When he died, they took his plans. They recreated that based off of schematics. But when they pointed it at our own aircraft, they were disoriented. So when these objects were showing up, when they had the tech made, they said, point it at that thing and see what happens. They disoriented UFOs. That's how they were bringing them down, with scalar technology. The UFOs didn't anticipate we would have that kind of technology. It was very advanced. And then it brought them down. Then they would go and recover these craft and even the bodies, and they would reverse engineer the technology. Velcro came from that down craft. Fiber optic cables, microchips came from that down craft, and so many other technologies came from reverse engineering technology from downed UFOs.
Wow.
That program, they've already been beyond our solar system. They have technologies that will blow your mind. They have warp drive technology. They have a technology that will shrink space in front of the ship and expand it from the back. So they can fly multiples of the speed of light without violating the theory of relativity. How come they're not violating the theory of relativity? Is because when you shrink space and expand space, you're moving space, not the ship. It's like putting a ship on a tablecloth and pulling the tablecloth.
Right.
The tablecloth is moving, that's space. The ship actually never moved. So in that way, you can travel multiples of the speed of light and make it back to your planet, and people won't be that much older. If you fly at the speed of light conventionally away from Earth and then come back, or like 1 light year and come back another light year, people will be 20 years older. That time dilation takes effect. So by using warp drives, you can travel the universe and still make it back in time for people not to have aged. You can come back to the same exact civilization that you left.
Is because we keep hearing about like these deals. Is there a deal between aliens and the United States or governments? Let's just say that. Is there some kind of deal? Because I don't see why we haven't really just seen a spaceship land in the middle of the street and somebody walk out and say hello.
The ones that are not afraid to interact have communicated with governments because they're operating on this directive, prime directive type of a thing. This prime directive, which is kind of like not that much interference with the people, to go to their leaders and deal with them. Dwight D. Eisenhower is supposedly one of the presidents that had a direct interaction with these alien beings. Now, Laura Eisenhower, very good friend of mine. I've been in conferences and lectures with her before. I've been in TV series where she appears in. She's actually coming on my podcast. She's a granddaughter of, the great-granddaughter of Dwight D. Eisenhower. And she affirms that this information is accurate. Wow. That aliens did meet, that they wanted to only give us technology to help us, but then we wanted technology to turn into weapons. They made an agreement that they would, if they can allow access to some humans for experiments, and they agreed to that too, unfortunately. And it became this crazy scenario where they, to abduct people in exchange for knowledge and technology. Did they ever get the technology? I don't really know. But she even goes as far as saying that there's already a breakaway civilization being built on the moon, and that she was approached by a handler to convince her to go to not the moon, I'm sorry, Mars. She was told that there's a breakaway civilization on Mars.
Okay.
And she was approached by a handler that told her that they would love to have her on Mars because they're creating this breakaway civilization. She went on radio, conferences, news, you name it, exposing this. She got ostracized from her own family and the money and everything else because of this. And she still stands by it till this very day.
Wow.
Yeah. Laura Eisenhower.
Man.
Crazy stuff.
Probably one of the other subjects that we had a question about. What about the government mind control, MK Ultra?
Ultra.
Is that really true?
1,000% true. There are new hearings going on right now in the last few days about MK Ultra. Senators and congresswomen are coming out talking about it, exposing the truths of it. People that were in the program itself coming forward and exposing the absolute truth of it, and that the MK Ultra was real, that they were taking people unbeknownst to them and putting them in these programs and utilizing different forms of psychological torture, activations, and implanting things in their minds and turning them into like these super soldiers and getting them to go commit the most egregious acts, including like blowing up federal buildings and everything else you could think of. And this is what they were doing with the MK Ultra. They found a way to literally turn a person into a remote-controlled super soldier, and have these activation sounds or symbols or words that when that happens, they forget who they are. They become this other version of themselves that they created in this laboratory setting, and they go out and execute a mission. And then after that, it's like, what the hell just happened? And they found that they were doing this without anyone's approval, experimenting on citizens and U.S. soldiers.
Wow.
Against their own free will.
Do you think that has anything to do with the Charlie Kirk situation?
Charlie Kirk, I think, was just, again, the MK Ultra was the kid. I think he was
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. I think he was an MK Ultra victim, and maybe even his parents as well. It's very suspicious. The things that they said about him and the things they said he was capable of doing, he just wasn't capable of doing and achieving. And then all of a sudden you see this execution of Charlie Kirk utilizing the same technology that Israel used years prior in cell phones, exploding cell phones. They're the masters of that type of technology. And then you see how they cleaned up the scene really quickly and went to the speedy trial. It all points to the fact that he could be an MK Ultra victim, and even his parents as well.
Right, that's why I asked you.
Yeah.
Man, we could probably ask you questions to the end of time, but we already know that you're a super busy person. We appreciate you stopping by the podcast like you did. Do you have anything you want to share? Anything you want to talk about?
Every year I do these great tours.
Okay.
And I got Egypt coming up in October. I also have Peru, Mexico, Turkey coming up as well, and Australia. So if anybody wants to go, maybe you can drop the link for me.
Definitely.
Fill out the reservation form and come hang out with me for 2 weeks somewhere in the world. We'll go have a great time.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Billy Carson, you
Appreciate
always
you, brother.
you always deliver. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.